Welcome to episode 2 of the Cigare Volant podcast. I'm your host Murph.
Declan.
Right now, we're two Irish millennials reviewing
Stop saying that.
each
Fuck.
episode of Frasier, episode by episode, Declan. Right now, we're watching episode 2 of series 1, Space Quest.
If you're watching along, we can see the Dr. Crane with his big hairy chest. He's a beast of a man.
I'm going to repeat this question when I find my notes for this episode, Declan. Frasier with or without mullet?
As we just said in the last episode, it has to be without. It doesn't look right with the mullet. It's mullet and beard, or no beard and shave and cut hair.
In my opinion, Declan, this episode is Frasier at his pretentious worst.
This is, well, there are episodes where he's much more pretentious, but this is the slippery slope.
Yeah.
Where we lose the Frasier of Cheers.
Yes.
And we slide back in to Niles and Frasier being very similar.
Remember, season 1 of a show is supposed to make you like the main character. Frasier is a complete selfish fuck in this episode.
But Frasier doesn't have to make us like him, because we already love him.
Because he's established from Cheers.
He's been on 6-7 series of Cheers.
Tell me this though, do you love Frasier from Cheers, or is he a wacky side character?
I love Frasier from Cheers.
You love Sam from Cheers.
I love everyone from Cheers.
Like,
Cheers.
You always tell me how much you love Diane from Cheers.
I fucking dare you. Diane is the worst fucking character in sitcom history. She's not entertaining. She's not funny. She's not interesting. She's a pretentious piece of shit. Fuck you, Diane.
Right. Yeah, I have a point for you to make right here.
Frasier brings a lovableness to his pretentious.
He does.
His pretentious character. Diane doesn't. She's just a piece of shit.
I have a very serious question to ask you here, Declan. Right now, Frasier is complaining about how Marty and Daphne and young Edward are ruining his morning routine. Declan, what do you think Frasier does when he wakes up first thing every morning?
It's a toss-up. Well,
Yes.
maybe he does it at the same time.
Yes.
But it's a massive shit and a massive wank.
I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are of Frasier Grant's morning routine.
Which one?
First things first.
Wank or shit, Murph?
A
Flip a
humongous
coin.
Dump.
I know, but you gotta wake up with a boner. You gotta take care of business.
Tell me this, Declan. What sort of dump do you think Frasier takes first thing every morning?
A type of dump that worries the foreman of the building.
I think it not only fills the circumference of the bowl, but the volume is unprecedented.
I believe the type of dump Frasier would take is referred to as an Abe Lincoln, where it's like Abe Lincoln's massive hat, where it's in the water and still clinging to his ass.
Yeah.
I believe that is a Frasier dump.
You know when unhealthy people are told they need to get more fibre in their diet? Frasier has so much fibre in his diet.
No, Frasier had no fibre, and then he had far too much fibre, and this is the dump. This is the aftermath of the change.
Tell me
He's
this.
in tears. He's grabbing at like the fucking at the shower curtain. Is fucking. He's basically dead inside. He's more dump than man.
Frasier eats a lot of Weetabix, eats
Does
a lot of vegetables.
Bran?
Say he horrendously blocks up the toilet. How does he unblock it?
Frasier doesn't unblock it.
I've got 3 words for you.
Frasier calls to help.
Daphne! Help, please! Daphne, the first time she heard that, came in with a plunger and a rubber glove. Do you know-
Rubber ducky.
Without gloves, Daphne.
No, madam. Without gloves.
By hand, Daphne.
By hand, Truman.
That will make sense. As the
That
next
will-
268 weeks go on, that line will make sense. I've got another.
I don't make sense.
I've got another very important question for you, Declan.
Right.
What kind of dumps does Marty Crane take?
Watery.
I think an honest, quick, massive shit.
No. These are beer dumps, Murph.
Yeah,
These are beer dumps.
but he likes his coffee black, like his women.
Exactly. You mix low brand beer and straight black coffee
Yeah,
with a lot of pork and beans.
he likes beans. He definitely likes beans.
You're gonna get some watery dumps, like fucking African drinking water.
I think Marty takes a lot of time on the toilet, but I don't think his volume equals a fifth of the
I don't
Frasier
think he takes a lot of time.
a fifth of the volume of Frasier's.
I think Frasier takes a lot of time. I think Frasier takes in an old copy of
Private Eye.
of like Nietzsche.
Nietzsche.
I think
Nietzsche. Declan, you know better.
I think Frasier brings in a nice hardback copy of Nietzsche.
No, Frasier's not reading hardback on the toilet.
Or
He has too much respect for hardback.
Or Young
Boys.
Or-
He does read Young Boys on the toilet, no doubt.
He's a monthly subscriber to Young Boys.
Yeah.
Or what's the big Freud? He brings in a nice hardback. He looks over what he already knows. He bumps up the knowledge. He dumps out the shit. You bump the knowledge, you dump the waste.
Do you think he bumps, like he shits out stuff he doesn't need to know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he makes more room.
Yeah.
It's how the economical man uses his morning.
See if Frasier takes a dump and there's a lot of skid marks on the sides. Does Daphne have to clean it by hand?
Yes.
100% agreed. Just saying 100% agreed.
Well, it's a toss-up between hand and tongue. But there is simply no plastic allowed in the situation.
I apologise for this, but one more shit question. What kind of dumps does Niles do?
Rabbit pellets.
Rabbit pellets.
Rabbit pellets.
It's rabbit pellets.
It cannot possibly be anything else.
It's 100% rabbit pellets. Right,
Mara simply would not allow anything else in her home.
Bit of background info here, Decky, right? The first episode attracted 28 million viewers. So normally sitcoms decrease in viewers.
We dip.
This episode got 29.2 million viewers.
A boost.
Up from episode 1, the 23rd of September, 1993.
See, if I hadn't watched Cheers
Yeah.
and I watched the first episode of Frasier, I don't know if I'd have come back.
I have a few questions. Funny you say that, Decky. A few questions, actually, right? First of all, I'm going to point out, right now we're introduced to Bulldog.
We'll ignore the questions.
Bob Bulldog Briscoe barges in due to a technical error in a different booth.
This is total BS.
Why did Bulldog say there was a technical error in a different booth?
I think he lied because at this moment that we're watching, he got to touch Frasier. I think that was a big moment for Bob as a person accepting his sexuality, where he got to touch the Dr. Crane.
Well, that's why I'm going to point this out. Is the running
Really?
theme of the show that Bulldog is in love with Frasier? How ludicrous a concept is that, though?
Not very.
No, I don't think so either. In all seriousness, I don't think so either.
The man is so overtly heterosexual.
But they point out Bulldog as being like such a misogynistic character who's very clearly like in denial of his true feelings. Because he cries a lot when his true feelings are pointed out. I think the reason he's so attracted, and I don't mean in a sexual sense, I mean like in a mental sense, he's so attracted to Frasier and Roz is because they can allow him to express his true feelings, whereas the sports show won't allow him to do so. I think Bulldog's in love with Frasier, not Roz. I think Bulldog misplaces his love for Frasier to Roz. Maybe that's pure left-wing bullshit, Declan.
Yeah, liberal.
Yeah. In this episode, the biggest lie in the history of Cheers is proven.
I know what it is, but let me hear it.
Frasier says, "Nothing is my first priority beyond my son Frederick."
Lie.
They thought that moving the Frasier Crane character from Boston to Seattle would be unsympathetic without mentioning the idea that he's somehow hard done by without his son.
I believe from Boston to Seattle is directly across the entire continent of America.
Without?
You could not be further between the two continents. One shares a coast with the Atlantic, one shares a coast with the Pacific.
Yeah. Without Frasier starring in Hawaii,
We
couldn't get much further.
Unless he moved to Hawaii or Alaska, there is literally nowhere further he could have been from his child.
Well, they did realise this, so they put in this ridiculously misplaced line about missing Freddie. In a 1992 episode of Cheers, Frasier makes reference to the idea of a suicide attempt when he stepped out on a ledge and attempted to commit suicide. Let's make a list of positives and negatives here, Declan.
Okay.
Frasier, should he have done it? Should he have committed suicide? Yes, I'm going to give you the positives. He would have seen his son as much over the next 10 years if he had committed suicide. True or false?
If you believe in an afterlife, he would have seen him more.
Because clearly, young Freddy was suicidal when he reached teenage years.
He had that goth shit.
He hit the goth phrase, which your co-host Murph also hit.
Fucking pathetic.
Declan,
I'd rather fucking kill myself.
Should Frasier have killed himself? Yes. The women of Seattle would have spurred much prevalent hunting and stalking.
As we know, there is an understory within the whole run of Frasier about the Seattle rapist.
Are you getting Frasier mixed up with the Office again there, Declan?
And we all know the Frasier is... Hang on. This is the second episode and we're about to see Marty Crane's best line. We're...
Yeah,
for all those watching along, Frasier's trying to read his book. Thick. Thick with two C's.
Internet memes. Did Marty Crane invent the term thick?
Thick. Yes, he did. Anyone who denies it is a liar. In the face of the law and in the face of God, this is Marty Crane's meme. I'm leaving you alone.
I have a question, a very important question for
you. I have an answer, Paul.
In regards to this first episode.
You don't have the answer. I have an answer to this whole fucking
So the Holy Trinity of the Frasier writers, Casey and Gail and the other fella.
John and what's his name?
Be honest with me here, right? So everybody doing our watch along, which everybody's doing. Kelsey and Marty are arguing like dogs at the minute here.
Frasier and Marty.
Frasier and Marty are arguing like dogs. In all honesty, do you give a fuck about Frasier and Martin's relationship?
No.
Me neither. I couldn't care less.
This is a sitcom.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to care.
See, in this episode, Frasier talks about how in the morning he has to have his Starbucks Kenyan blend. Was Frasier referring to Starbucks coffee, or was he referring to the idea that he had to have slaved-owned grind coffee every single morning?
In reality, it's Starbucks, but in my heart, it is the slave blend. I believe that's what Frasier truly meant. And also, an answer to this whole episode, Frasier is looking for somewhere in Seattle to peacefully read his book. Frasier, go to a library. People are not allowed to speak in a library. You cannot be interrupted. It's a simple answer.
When he talks about demanding his Kenyan blend, do you think the character, not Kelsey Grammer, the character of Frasier would or would not be in support of the human slave trade?
This episode was done in a time before fair trade.
I don't think so. 93.
What?
I think fair trade existed in 1993.
No, it didn't. When we were younger, they were pushing the fair trade idea.
Yeah.
So when we were younger, it was like, we weren't born in 93. Well, we were born, but we were just about born in 93. So the period when we remember our youth, and they're pushing the idea of sweet, sweet Kenyan blend coffee as fair trade, we were about 10 years old.
In the early scenes there, we saw that they have permanently hired Daphne as their live-in Marty's physical assistant / house cleaner, essentially.
Yes.
Tell me this. Daphne claimed to be a psychic in these early series.
I'm a psychic.
Was she trying to swindle them? Or was she trying to live off their free accommodation?
Here. It's a fucking sweet house she got her hands on.
Didn't you fucking get her paws in a sweet house?
Grammy Moon.
When she pretend me Grammy Moon pours coffee down me fanny.
Grammy Moon used to read tea leaves for the Manchester Derby.
Piggy,
what a stupid character.
We're shooting ahead of time here. Did Daphne marry Neds because she realised where her bread was buttered? Or did she all of a sudden realise she was in love with Neds all along?
No. She was always in love with Niles because...
Do you, serious, like pretend this is true, like chronology of the show. Was she always in love with Niles?
Well, within context of that season of the show, she was about to marry a much richer man.
Donnie. Right?
So if it was about the money, why not marry the richer person who was already devoted to you and ready to give you everything?
Okay.
Instead of taking a chance on Niall's crane and risking the lawsuits from both Donnie and Niall's wife.
Yeah.
If she was in it for the money, she would have went with Donnie. It's much simpler. But then again, she's from Manchester. She's probably illiterate.
Yeah.
We simply don't know the intelligence of this woman. That's not a judgment on women. That is a judgment on Manchester.
We're Frasier and Niles are wrestling characters. Who's the heel and who's the face?
That's what generation we talking?
Any generation to tell me?
No, hang on. I don't know much about modern day wrestling,
Yeah.
but I know that Niles would get a much bigger pop today,
Yeah.
and Frasier would get a much bigger pop in the early 90s.
Do you not think Niles is so ludicrously up his own arse in this episode?
Yeah, but what do you call your man? He had the beard and the slick back hair.
Damien Sandow.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Damien Sandow got a pop that he did not deserve.
Okay, so I'll point this out. Niles comes to Frasier's table and he makes an order in Italian for some reason. He makes it in Italian, right?
Our viewers did not see that, but I just did I did an Italian kiss.
He did the Italian kiss.
chef
The Sicilian kiss. Was Frasier out of order when Niles asked for a foreign language recipe and he said, "Oh, what fresh hell is this?" Was Frasier being a wanker?
Oh, what fresh hell is this?
Was Frasier being an emo/goth, aka a predecessor to Freddy's Goth? Period. Yeah.
The Freddy's future endeavors.
Yeah.
I think we're still in that grey area where Frasier is moving from the changes he made at the end of Cheers to his new Frasier persona.
Yeah.
In this show.
Okay.
I like this bit where Kathy just goes off on one.
I think in all of the first series, Kelsey is ridiculously melodramatic. I really dislike... as we discussed in episode 1, your favourite character is Niles, my favourite character is Frasier, but Frasier is so up his own fucking arse in these episodes, like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not what we expect of Frasier, but Niles is what we expect, and that's why we love Niles.
Do you know why I don't have that much sympathy for Niles? He remains married to a woman he doesn't love for 6 years for money.
Nurse. My nurse.
Matters. I have a couple more questions for you here.
Quick fire.
Are there any Frasier quotes you use in everyday life?
In everyday life?
I've got two. I've got two.
Well, there's one quote that when I say I know is from Frasier.
Yeah.
But it's like a common quote. But in my head I hear Frasier say it. And there's another quote that's my favourite that I say any opportunity I get.
Should, brother.
The first one is, "Dear God!
Dear God, I've got written right here.
Yeah.
Dear God!
Dear God!" The second one is probably my favourite, flat out, low quality humour joke in all of Frasier.
Go for it.
When Daphne's fat and Marty's
Yes.
and Frasier, Niles and Martin try and pick her up after she falls down.
Yeah.
And Marty says, "It took 3 cranes to lift you." I try and say that at any opportunity I can. I don't care who's there. I will try and get that quote out.
They could wait 2.5 years and we'll be quoting that again. Do you know what my favourite
What is that? Season 9?
11? What? 15? Right. Do you know what my favourite all-time Frasier quote is? And we'll get to this in 10 years' time. Did I mention that I prepared a Hungarian goose? Right, Declan, we're running the end credits. I have a few more quick-fire questions to ask you.
Quick.
Right, Ned spoke Italian in that episode.
Molto bene.
Would Frasier... in the Irish Troubles, would Frasier... would Frasier have been part of the RUC?
I know exactly what Frasier would have been. Don't
Yes.
finish that.
Yeah.
Frasier would have been a fucking high up RUC
Seat
commander.
tight. An RUC tight.
That's all Frasier could have been.
I've got more. A Shankill butcher?
No.
Or would he have immediately committed suicide upon realizing troubles are about to break out? And by the way, one more trivia note in episode 2. Do you know who was on the phone in KCL?
Who was it?
Christopher Reeves, aka the disabled Superman.
that how he's known today?
This has been episode 2
not
of
the original Superman,
episode 2
the disabled Superman
of the Cigare Volant podcast. I've been Murph.
I've been Daggy.
Thanks very much.